guys, welcome back to the project. Made a few changes since the last time I had the camera rolling. My father-in-law came over the weekend, and when I have help like that, I don't tend to run the camera much. I just get the work done. And the big thing that we did was put a bunch of these big monster beams up in the rafters where they needed to be to fix the issue that we were going to have with taking this chunk of wall out. And you can see it's already done. Rafters are in. We're looking great. We're looking stronger than ever. And that weird half door and that arch and then that closet are all gone. So I have to clean up the floor a little bit, but that's looking great. And man, lots of changes. Katie, the whole time we were in here working on the rafters, Katie was running around pulling nails, and what a difference it makes. You can't tell because you're behind it. That side is done and it looks clean. It looks old construction, but it looks clean. Back here, where every single nail still has a chunk of this rock lath hanging from it, it just looks gross and dirty and nasty. That side looks really, really nice. So we are moving right along. We have one more beam that we need to get up. We just ran out of time on that day. And the other cool thing that we figured out somewhere along this process was that this wall is not load bearing, with the exception of about 6 or 8 studs where it is along the staircase. So back to here, it bears no weight. We can take this much out like we had planned, but then we have this duct. Maybe I'm not turned far enough to even see the duct, but we're gonna end up stopping here and not opening the stairs quite as much as we thought. But the really cool part is this back side of this closet where we were going to shove in a pantry, nothing here is load bearing at all until the front side of the closet. So this whole closet is gonna come out now, so that downstairs, when you come down the stairs, there's nothing in the way. Right now, you have to make a hard left or a hard right when you hit the bottom of those stairs, which is really difficult for our fastest, dumbest dog. There's a lot of dog-shaped impressions in that drywall now. That whole thing is going away. So that's one of the projects I'm kind of working towards today, is cleaning up some of the mess so I can rearrange a little bit and then starting to knock that wall down. You can see we have a little bit of electrical just hanging around because we had to get some of that out of the way to get the new rafters in, and maybe they're not even rafters. I don't know the terms of things. You can yell at me in the comments if you want to, but you know what I'm trying to say. That's coming out. We're gonna make a change at the front door that we're excited about, and then it's gonna be time to start running electrical. So these are the changes. It's looking great. I have a lot of piddly little work to do, and then we'll do some more updating. All right, I've spent the entire day kind of doing a bunch of just piddly little stuff that's no fun at all. With this rock lath, there used to be a whole pile. Here's a good example. This is like 1x4 junk would have been around the floor all the way around, and they could set the rock lath on top of that, and then they'd come in with their mud stuff and trowel over the top of it. This had to come out, and it's kind of hard to get it out with hardwood floor being in the way. This goes down below. The floor comes up to, 3/4 of an inch on it or something. Had to get all that out. That took a day and was miserable. Hooray for misery. There's my pile there. I managed to step on a nail. That wasn't fun. Ibuprofen has me not limping quite so bad. Anyway, at this point, we're gonna try to tackle this closet. So I did have this part walled off with plastic at one point. Turn you around and I can be a better filmmaker. Now, at an angle here, this is going from this corner to that corner. Even though this and this are gonna come back to here at some point, this just keeps the mess contained while I take this monster down. So the staircase is up there. You can look in here. So the back wall of the closet, you look through that, and that's our bathroom. Now I have the mess contained from that point to that point, bent around this corner stud. This will be the last thing that I end up taking out when I get to that point. Partly because I want to make sure that this isn't truly the thing that's supporting that beam up above it. We'll find that out when we start opening the rest of this up. But I know for sure by sticking my head in there that these floor joists or rafters, or again, yell at me in the comments, I don't know my terminology, those go all the way across and are supported on the beam up there. So this wall is not holding any actual weight. This wall is just there to be a wall. And now I can start cutting these guys out with my Sawzall and pulling the studs out and trying to take the rock lath down from the inside outside. I'll make a hole here in just a second. And then we'll get this whole corner cleaned up. We're back in the shop, ready to test out the top coat on these test pieces. So I sanded the matte one to 220 and what is going to be the glossy one to 320. And I've wiped them clean with alcohol, so I don't want to touch anything here. And then using the instructions, I did the math. And for our test sizes, I need about, by the time I'm done, ½ an ounce of this. So we're gonna mix a little bit too much, but it is what it is. We'll get it done. One thing I've had people ask is, how thick is this? Well, I thought this was an interesting experiment. Once I cut it in half and you can truly see how thick it was, that's it. I can get a caliper out and measure it, but man, there's nothing to it. It goes on looking beautiful. That's the other thing is this, now that it's sanded, I think I like this look better than gloss. So my guess is I'm gonna like matte better than glossy, but we'll see. There's just a little bit of prepping that I need to do here before we get this started. So let's focus, there we go. So this stuff needs to be shaken up. Actually, I was doing this before we got started, and then I need to pour and mix. I did forget my sticks. So just a little bit of prep work that needs to get done here before we can get started. I'm going to put that piece of tape on the bench and just run my roller over the tape. That way, if there was any lint on there, now it's not. Then we'll mix up some stuff. There we go. So then we're just gonna mix the three together. Take the roller, load them up. And it says, all this is according to the instructional video that I've watched. It says you go on one way, then you go on the other way, and you overlap yourself a little bit. So I think we'll go short way first. It says light pressure. Soak up a little more stuff. And then we'll go back the other way. And I think you're not supposed to use, like, overdo yourself. Just do it enough. Just like that. So now I have another one, and we do the same thing to like a dry pass, I guess they'd call it. Unfortunately, that kind of wastes this roller and that roller for just this little project. I don't know what they cost, but it's a couple bucks and some material. That's a shame, but we will learn what we need to learn with this, and that's the whole point. All right, so we have matte and we have glossy. The matte one is already kind of showing dry enough that the sheen has gone away, and that's just what that's gonna look like. And man, I really like that one. I really, really like this. It takes a long time for this stuff to dry to its ultimate durableness. I think it's like 48 hours or maybe even more. I'll have to read the instructions again. This one's still wet, We just finished rolling this one on, so that's gonna start drying and should end up a little shinier than that one. But we'll see what those results look like probably next week. Well guys, it's been a long week in here. I didn't get as much footage of the work itself as I normally would have, but like I said before, when I have help, I tend to put the camera down and do the work. Doesn't seem right to make somebody else come in here and do the labor while I'm holding a camera and just watching them. So let's just take a quick look at where we are sitting in this kitchen right now. We have gotten rid of the entire entryway. That is now all cleaned up. So there was a wall and a closet right there, and all that's cleaned out back to the very back there. Like, look how much more open just this corner is. Way better, way better. This right here would have been a wall. So all that is now open. The dining room table can now sit right around here. One change that we just made is we had a replacement for that window. It's actually out in the barn right now. And Katie decided she wanted more light on this side, so she ran out and ordered a new 5x5 window. So it should go from that corner to that stud and then down to about that cross piece. So this is going to end up being a much bigger window. So there's a little bit more work that has to happen in here. We're going to have to put a new header in above that, but it won't be bad. Won't be bad at all. And then we'll look over here too. You remember the mess that was just there a minute ago? Right here would have been a wall from down the stairs and then over to here. So this space was a closet. Now it's all gone. We've got that taped up to kind of separate the bugs and the heat from the clean side of the house again. But now you can come down the stairs and just be in the room. One thing we are gonna do, that's our bathroom, and I'm standing on where our dining room table would be, and that is our toilet. And it seems a little off-putting that you could sit at the table and see a toilet. So we're probably going to add one stud, two studs, just to bring it in line with that door frame so that you can't quite see into that, while still having this be much more open than it was before. Again, that was about the doorway. It's going to be a huge improvement. Yeah, looking forward to it. One other thing that we are going to change in here, another big structural thing, is this header is going to get changed up a little bit. This line right here is actually a basement doorway. So there's a wall right here going out the other side of that. This is going to get cut back to that line, opening up this doorway a little bit here. And we've finally determined how we're going to do this. We'll have a header go from about there to the outside wall, and we can take out that whole chunk of a wall. So now there's an exterior door there. You'll be able to open the door, and there'll be the first counter for our kitchen right here going that way. So one more bit of work there. There's a lot of electrical in there that I have to relocate. And then we'll start moving on to other things like electrical and insulation and, man, drywall, plumbing, cabinets. We're finally almost done with the demo. We're very, very close to done with the heavy reconstruction, the actual physical changes of the room. And now we're almost to a point zero where I get to just build out the space. So anyway, I think that's all I've got for this week. Come back next week. We'll see where we are after another 7 days of this. And thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. My arm is so tired of holding up this phone. I've been pulling nails up over my head for way too many days now.